Hey everyone, we're going to be starting in a little over 5 minutes. Everyone, just type in to the chat Merry Christmas just so we can get the vibe going. It's the festive season, it's the last show of this year. So let's start it off by saying just a Merry Christmas to everyone in the chat, and we'll see you in 5. Welcome everyone to, well, the last show of this year, but definitely not the least. So I think we have a lot of this to discuss. I think we've seen a lot this year happen in the crypto space. We've seen a lot of technology being developed and creating, I think, a next stepping stone for what we were probably going to see in 2022. So what exactly do I mean by that? Well, we're going to be discussing where should you be investing in 2022, and particularly having a discussion around the layer 1 and layer 2 coins. So before I get into that, Smiley, Smokes, it's good to have you guys with me. How are you guys doing today?
Yeah, what's up, Tony? How are you doing? How's everything? I'm good.
Yeah, good guys. Happy to be here. Excited for tonight. Second last show of the year. It's going to be quite interesting to see what we can figure out and find out and see what this market has to bring before the end of the year, as it's around the corner. So it's super exciting to see what's going to happen.
So let's dive into it, guys. So we've kind of had the discussion previously. We've seen that since the start of the crypto era, you know, everyone's been used to looking at Bitcoin, looking at the Ethereum, looking at these main coins, but besides looking at them as main coins, to discuss the actual technology. So what has been one of the problems we've had with Bitcoin and Ethereum, and that's particularly the layer 1 technology that it's on. Not only is it extremely costly and slow, but you can see there's no room for development with the layer 1 technology that they're kind of using. And what we're actually seeing is you're seeing these alternative coins that's much smaller and more adaptive, diving into the layer 2 solutions and implementing them as quickly as possible. And you can see a dramatic change in the adoption of the crypto market. So what do we mean by that? Well, if we take, for example, and we have a look at Ethereum, which we would call a layer 1, and we would take a look at a similar competitor, Polygon Matic, which would be a similar token, but mainly using layer 2 solutions. So it is essentially a layer 2 token, and we can see not only by the way it handles transaction and by the cost that it does, but you can see the community itself is very thriving in terms of having these layer 2 solutions implemented as quickly as possible as opposed to others. So from a fundamental point of view, we can already see, as we've discussed in the previous weeks, we can see that these kind of layer 2 solution tokens like Matic are adopting at an extremely quick rate, and we can see that alone with how Matic's grown. So, you know, without chatting too much, I think, Smokey, let's go to Matic and have a discussion around what you're kind of seeing on that side. And let's kind of have a discussion around the correlation between the fundamentals and, you know, even from a TA point of view, where this token is going right now.
No, 100%. Look, we've seen that Matic has broken or trying to break above this $2.87 that we've mapped out here for the guys in the community. But we've seen quite a bit of, you know, sort of push behind the project as it scales, and with, like you've mentioned, like UNI being onboarded onto Matic, and that something that I also saw earlier. Just trying to remember, we were looking at some fundamentals and news and stuff. Just wanted to see, there was something that I highlighted. I've now forgot to add to this discussion because there's so much happening at this point in time. It's just been crazy. I just want to see if I can find it quickly and just see. But let's have a look while this is loading. Look at the chart. So what we've seen this year, and with obviously Polygon recently, within this week from, you know, Monday the 20th, we saw a push down in most of the halts this past Monday, and we then started seeing news coming in as these coins then started to gain some popularity. Now, taking at it from a fundamental point of view and looking at it from a technical analysis point of view, we tend to see that there's a couple of days after the big news has hit the sort of mainstream, we see that, you know, the mass adoption takes place as people wake up and they start seeing, oh, this is actually happened. And then obviously climbing on the bandwagon. Because what we spoke about last week is that, you know, we're not seeing at that time, we didn't see much happening in terms of the pricing. Like pricing was lagging sort of in this zone here of this $2 $22 to $2 range, and then all of a sudden Monday came, we had a sort of push down, grab of liquidity, and then a sort of continuation to the upside. And we've seen quite a strong rally on Matic, specifically breaking the all-time high and forming sort of a continuation of the uptrend that we can see here. If we look at it just from an overall structure point of view, we've seen that we've had this nice push here, a pullback, sort of correction in this area, another impulse leg, a corrective wave, and then a continuation. Now we've broken the structure here from a market structure perspective, so we've seen a continuation to the upside. So what we want to see next is a push sort of down to fill any price inefficiency, maybe around the $2.20, $2.50 level before we see a continuation on that side. Also looking at UNI, that sort of went hand in hand with the Matic project in terms of the news and stuff. We've seen quite a big push, having 99.3% of the community voting unanimously for UNI to go onto the Matic platform, and obviously for them to find a scaling solution to get the transaction cost lower for these DEXs, and also to get the transaction rate and stuff scaled so that it's faster and more effective, not only from a costing but also from a timing perspective. So we're seeing UNI also trying to break above this $18.75, which is great to see. I think it's really a good project going in long term. It's really undervalued, I think, at this point in time. So there's a lot of potential for these layer 2 projects. Now looking at Ethereum as a layer 1 blue chip project, we as you've mentioned, the scalability from the likes of Bitcoin and Ethereum and these blockchains is they are quite big, and they tend to bottleneck, and they are quite costly to get the transactions done, but also it takes quite a bit of time to get that stuff sorted, whereas Matic offers an off-the-chain solution that obviously enables it to do it much faster, and that's why Matic is the fastest, if not the fastest, it's one of the fastest currently in terms of transaction speed and efficiency. So that's really great to see. That would be, talking about those layers. So looking at 2022, we want to look at these projects that are typically low cost sort of coins for us to trade, not only short term, but also from a slightly longer perspective, where we can look at something that we can get in that's not going to break the bank, but gives us plenty of opportunities to still get into the market, so that we can add to positions if we're not in the projects, but also looking at where can we find good value for money. Because we can see Ethereum, looking at Ethereum, we can see that Ethereum's really struggling to break above this $4,000 range. We are not seeing that it's giving us nice bullish momentum, showing us intent that it wants to break up and continue higher. And projects like Avex, Matic, and these lower cost products that are offering faster scaling solutions are starting to take away the sort of limelight from Ethereum, becoming obviously a good competitor for that from an investment perspective, even though like Matic is built on the Ethereum blockchain. It's just some people will look at this from a optimal sort of investment point of view, but also from a trading perspective. For me personally, I love trading these coins that are super low sort of costing coins, where you can stack a couple up and you can really play with it. It's got nice volatility from a trading perspective, so you can definitely look at trading in the short term to get those short term gains with projects like this. Another project that I want to just point out that we discussed on Friday night was GRT. Now GRT we had mentioned on Friday, which we actually, some of our investors and traders have looked at this project, and they've actually entered this project, and we've got, you know, 1 or 2 positions on this. But I think this is really looking at the overall structure from a trading perspective for the short-term gains. I see a lot of potential on this on the higher time frames. So this is a great opportunity. Now, you know, we mapped out for our own personal trades, we mapped out on the 68 cents region to the 70 cents region as 2 key psychological levels. But we're also wanting to see sort of price come trade slightly lower down for sort of those optimal trade entries. But we've taken some entries, you know, in this 68 to 70 cents region. So we'll see what price does. It seems like it's had quite a nice push currently on the lower time frame, so we can see that there's opportunity. So if people paid attention to that, you know, you would have made a little bit of money on it. Not major, because this coin's slowly building up, but it's definitely undervalued. So it's a great opportunity. And this coin trades really nice. It moves really nice when it moves. So it's a good opportunity to look at, you know, trading and having those short-term gains. So I don't know if anyone here has taken that, you know, and look for opportunities. If you have, you know, type in 777. Let us know what you think of GRT, and if it's something that you've got in your portfolio, or if it's something that you are maybe looking to trade maybe from a lower price point perspective, or if it's something that you are considering at this point in time. It's been in the news as well, so I'm expecting, you know, in the next couple of days to see a move, you know, breaking above this previous high here. That will show us a bit more intent for this move, and then looking obviously at a higher time frame perspective and sort of a bigger swing perspective, we want to see something break out of this triangle for sort of showing us intent, pushing up, maybe a pullback, and then a continuation to the upside. So that's something that I just wanted to quickly reference and show you guys that we are busy with. We're trading it ourselves, and some of the guys that are with us in the community have also put in some small trades on this coin. But obviously, coming back to the sort of layer, the various layers and the projects and stuff, I think what's important is, you know, with Moonacade, you know, if you want to get more into the sort of deep dive into the technology and the fundamentals of why you want to invest in these projects, I think it's important that the guys reach out to one of the Moonacade members to get in touch with the guys, because the fundamental analysts, they really do a lot of effort. They've got a lot of research, and they openly discuss these projects on a weekly basis. So it's really great to get the sort of knowledge and background why you would invest in these projects. So if you're interested, you know, reach out to the Moonacade team. Those guys will put you in the right direction. They will give you all the information. Our job here at TradeAcade, as a sister partner with Moonacade, is purely to look at the trading and the short-term sort of objectives for the market, and looking at how we can add value to the Moonacade team in order to get optimal entries, and obviously help you guys get sort of directional bias. Now, looking at Bitcoin as our lead indicator, we always reference Bitcoin. We always want to look at Bitcoin to see what is Bitcoin doing, because that's the OG of the market, and that gives us indication of whether the alts are going to move up or down. Now, if Bitcoin moves, doesn't matter how good the project is, it will come down, you know, with Bitcoin, if Bitcoin pulls it down. So there is in some cases where the project does break out of the algorithm, and it will trade sort of against what Bitcoin is doing. Like you'll see, like today when Bitcoin moved, Matic still pushed up, for example, whereas Bitcoin is down. So you'll see from time to time the projects break out of that sort of rhythm and do its own thing due to news and various other, you know, reasons, due to maybe their market structure and that type of stuff. But currently for Bitcoin, we are waiting. You know, we've broken out of this previous triangle that we showed you guys on Friday. And we currently are battling to sort of stay above the $50,000 level. What we've said in previous weeks is that we want to see a clear break above the $50,000 to $52,500 level as our key sort of last line of sort of resistance type of scenario for the short-term gains to try and attack these highs that we've got here. So we want to see, you know, close above the 50 as a last sort of scenario for a deep retracement. But ideally, we want to see price break above the $52,500 level and then move up. Now, it all depends on the context. So it's important that you guys take into consideration and watch what price action actually does in this region, because it's pointless having these points if you don't understand the context. Hence why we're building the TradeAcade University, so that you guys can get educated and understand not only the fundamentals with Moonacade, but also the technical side of how the market moves from a market structure point of view, a supply and demand perspective, and going really into the deep sort of, fundamental analysis, if I can call it that, from, price action candlesticks and how the market actually moves, and how it generates liquidity in order to make these big moves in the market, and then looking at various other overbought and oversold scenarios without looking at any indicators, but purely focusing on what the market is telling us in an objective manner. Now, Smiley, you've been quite quiet there. Give us some feedback. Tell us what is your thoughts on Bitcoin. I know we're itching to get into the market with a $10,000 account, but I just don't see us pulling the trigger yet. What is your thoughts on Bitcoin? Has your bias changed on the market? And what is your thoughts going into this week, as we approach? Do you think we'll be able to spot any opportunities tomorrow morning in our weekly meeting for looking at a potential trade here, or are we still waiting for that confirmation above that $52,500 level on Bitcoin? What are you thinking?
All right. Thanks, Smokey and Stony. So let's quickly dive into a chat. Well, actually, what I'm expecting is just before we could be able to break the 51,467 levels, I think Bitcoin needs to get a lot of liquidity, needs to get a lot of money, because actually I've been anticipating the Bitcoin drop actually to the region of let's say, I'm talking about the 4-hourly candle, the 4-hourly time frame, because we can see on the 4 hours time frame, we can see more or like change of character. One, we can see a push down to grab liquidity, and next we can see the push up to clear let's say change of character or break of market structure. So definitely before we can see, and now what we did, Smokey, I think what Bitcoin is actually doing is more like engineering liquidity, one, and like inducing like in the liquidity inducement. Checking your 4 hours time frame, even though before going to the daily time frame, check your 4 hourly time frame. The range of 567 level, which is our supply or resistance level right now. You can see that Bitcoin intentionally went to that level to mitigate one of the supply zone in that area. So even to me, ideally, before I can see a push up, I would love Bitcoin to come down to around 48,400 and 48,107 level. One Bitcoin comes to that place, I think there's a valid demand zone, or let me say valid support zone or circulated zone over that level that Bitcoin might possibly pull back to. Then before we have the major big, like we are going to have on the 4-hourly candle, once we visit that zone, we might have a like a V-shaped recovery, like immediately prices reaching getting to that particular point, we should see some crazy rejection over that spot. And now price won't move, like price won't just move directly to our point of entry. Price needs to create some moves, correction, drop, correction, drop. And what Bitcoin is actually doing now is that it's trying to induce shorters to that zone. Like there are a lot of orders at the 51. There are a lot of sell order at the 51 level, 51,467 level, which I think it is intentional. Yeah, it is intentional that once Bitcoin reaches the 48,000 level, like the 48,107 level, like we are going to have a big shape recovery. Then we are going to liquidate all shorters at that 51,467 zone. So that is why I've been anticipating this move that Bitcoin should just drop down to 48,425. Then we should have some rally up to break the minor supply zone we had. Because to me, it is more like an inducement to me, not even a supply zone again. it's more like inducement for me, because I know it is intentional. And once it is intentional, they're trying to bring in retail traders to short from that zone and grab a lot of liquidity. And checking there, you can see some kind of imbalances that you need, price needs to fill. So currently now, even more reason why we haven't even executed some trades on the account is because we really want Bitcoin to break that 51,000 level before we have some rally up to clear those money above. So to me, if I could conclude, I would say I really want Bitcoin to come down to the 48,000 level, 48,200, 48,107 level, so we could have a V-shaped recovery. So I think we could be able to grab liquidity, clear the inducement, then we have a possible retest, on the inducement trend line, then we go up. I think that's really what will happen, because I think before we can see Bitcoin at the range of at the range of 46,433 level, I think that means some correction move needs to be we need to really break. We are going to break some certain demand zones, or let me say certain support zones, which I don't think don't let me conclude yet. Anything can happen actually, because we are just trying to give at least a specific direction of what Bitcoin is trying to do.
Well, that's quite interesting. Like, I hear what you're saying in terms of the imbalance that's been created between the supply and demand. I've mapped up this resistance and support range here around about the $48,000 level, and then this resistance, as we can see, this relative equal highs forming here.
Exactly.
But now, looking at these equal highs, we can see that, it's a relative equal highs, not exactly, 100% flush. But this for me, shows that, apart from the sideways action, this shows to me that they want to go higher. And there's a reason why they're building these building blocks. Like if we take this from a staircase perspective, this is stairs that they're building to go up. Now we've gone down to full price inefficiency. We're heading down. So what this actually forms is this forms steps to go up again. From a liquidity perspective, which we have to obviously consider as well. We've taken out this sort of liquidity void here, not going into too much detail about it, but looking at from a support and resistance perspective, we can definitely see price coming, because we've seen this massive impulse move here where price has created that sort of abnormal move, and that would be a good reason or valid reason for price to come down to this level before potentially moving away. Now, once we get to this $48,000 level, it's important for us to understand what price is telling us from an objective perspective, and not assume that price will just purely come, do this, come down and simply go straight up. That's not how the market moves. So what we want to see is, should price come into this sort of region, we want to see, a clear push up above the previous lower high, wherever that might be, depending on how price forms here, and then obviously form a new higher low formation before continuation up. So what I've done is I've put this indicator on so that we can obviously showcase to you guys to make it a little bit easier to show you what's happening. So currently we can see that here's a higher low. So in other words, this means that this low is higher than this lower low. That's why this is a higher low. And then what we've done is we broke the previous lower high, which is this area here, and we formed a new higher low here, a higher high, sorry. And then price pushed down, we formed a new higher low because this area is above this previous high low. And then we saw a push back up, which then formed a new higher high. So this essentially shows us that the market is trying to push up into a continuation. Now, like Smile said, that we can definitely come down, fill in the imbalances, maybe tap down further into the air. Should we hit that level, because of that wick to the left, that could put this wick here. If we then move, there's not going to be a lot of resistance in the wick. So the chances then could be they see a push further down into the $40,000 region. So we'll have to be very mindful of that, because once we break below the 40,000 region, that would signal a continuation, to the downside into the sort of $28,000 levels and lower that we discussed in previous webinars. So without going into it too much, that is just stuff that we need to consider, and always, be mindful of the context of what our analysis shows, because we are trying to give you an objective approach, and a lot can change within a day or three. So it's always important to watch the webinars, get in contact with the Moonacade members that's got access to our weekly reports, because the weekly reports give you the breakdown of like the top 20 coins, the popular coins, and then we obviously here and there we do some different coins, like we've done GRT this past 2 sessions as well that we've highlighted. We've shown you guys Luna. So always, if you're unsure about the market or you want more information, speak to the Moonacade members and get access to those reports, because that will also help you, give you the breakdown of what we see in the market and what levels and zones we are targeting, to give you clarity and help you with your decision making, whether price is trading lower for you to get better buying opportunities, or whether price is trading higher and you maybe need to look for selling opportunities. So just keep that in mind, going forward when we do our analysis. That will help you guys. We've seen great success in the community with the guys following the calls. I'm not going to go into all the projects, but there's been members that's been doing really well with that, and sharing their results as well. So it's been really great. Stony, is there anything else that you want to add to this charts and stuff? What are you seeing from a technical analysis point of view? I know you like looking at the wicks and the sniper entries. What is your thoughts on that?
I think right now I'm sitting back. I'm still very bearish on Bitcoin. I'm expecting it to go down and obviously pull other things down with it. So I'm literally looking at those liquidity levels there at the bottom there, where you can see prices are going right now. So I'm expecting price to go to those kind of regions where it looks quite lucrative. Might be wrong, but that's where I'm going to stick to for now.
Also, one thing to consider with the alts, because we've seen more sentiment in the altcoin market increasing, and some of the projects really have hit almost literally rock bottom. A lot of them have retraced quite a bit. Another project that I actually wanted to also point out is CRO, and I know we discussed it yesterday as well, and I think this morning as well while we were doing the analysis. Like CRO, and this is in our reports, guys, is looking at CRO. Like there's been a lot of news, like they're doing I think it's a new advert for the Super Bowl, as they're putting their fingers in all the sort of sports bars. I've seen they're actually getting involved with the Lakers or something, or maybe it's just a basketball scene in the States, which is really interesting. So they're really getting into all these projects. I mean, UFC, they're in the soccer, they're really trying to, endorse crypto in the, global perspective, especially on the sports scene where there's, a lot of pay-per-views and that, which is really great to see that crypto is getting, some, exposure. I mean, it's costing them a lot of money. The UFC deal cost them $175 million. So I can just imagine what the football cost, and even maybe something as big as the Super Bowl, or looking at the basketball scene in the US might cost them. They heavily invested in. So that's a project that I want to point out. I'm not going to give details about the project itself, but looking at it from a pricing perspective, I see this is a really good opportunity to obviously make some gains and see prices trade higher. So you could really get some good return on investment on this coin, depending on your strategy. But it's important that you guys do your own diligence, do your own analysis, look at your trading strategy, look at your risk, allocation, looking at sort of the risk management that we went over, last week, how you want to structure that to see how you can optimize this. But this is a project that I would also, keep a close eye on, because this thing is going to move, I think, very soon. So don't be surprised. But that's it from our side, from an analysis point of view. I think we've discussed enough coins. We don't want to, bore you guys with the technical analysis, because we can speak about it the whole day. If there's nothing else, please like and subscribe if you like the content. Let us know if there's anything else you would like to see us add to, the weekly webinars and some of the Crypto Friday Hangouts and that. We will be doing another show next week, Thursday evening, same time, same place. So join us there, and let's see what we can obviously see in the market and what opportunities this week will be providing to us.
I agree. I think it's going to be an interesting week. I think as well, everyone's just waiting on the edge right now. As I said to the team, we're going to be seeing a lot of regulation happening in 2022, which will put some strain on certain crypto projects. But we're also going to be seeing the ETFs, Bitcoin ETFs coming into play. So that will automatically push a lot of the, I would say, the bond liquidity that's available in the world market right now into the crypto market. And I think that's when we are going to be expecting to see that 100K rally. So guys, with that being said, please enjoy the week. I think it's going to be an amazing one, and have a blessed new year, and we'll chat to you next week. Cheers.